I have a plane that I'm catching on Thursday night. I have so much I have to do to get ready for that trip. I am so busy. Am I going to spend the rest of the day reading a smutty alien romance book that I came across while on TikTok? Yes. Hi, I'm Elissimo, and I make really bad life choices. Just to give a little bit of context for what's going on here. Like many people before me, I downloaded TikTok during the pandemic and have subsequently become addicted to it. And last night during my daily scroll through TikTok in the hour before I go to bed, no less than 13 videos popped up on my For You page about one specific book series. And that book series is called Planet Barbarians. Now, some things you should know about me. First, I don't read explicit romance, for the most part. I have in the past. Typically, I get really uncomfortable during the spicy scenes. I have to put the book down, I have to walk away. So it's just not my typical genre. However, the second thing to know about me is I love it when a group of people gets together and celebrates something unironically the way I feel like is happening right now on BookTok. And I have FOMO, and so I want to participate and also celebrate this thing. For reference, this is the TikTok that I saw.
Decided I'm gonna do a series of out of context Planet Barbarians. Are we ready to go? Let's do this. My cootie purrs in agreement, the little whore. My questing fingers encounter nothing but muscular lean hip. Oh, so there's that. No waistband, no leather, no nothing. Just me and a big naked alien that I have to burrow against for warmth. Gosh, it's so hard to be me sometimes. My cootie may be into Stockholm Syndrome, but I am not. If you would like more, let me know. The series is fantastic. I highly recommend.
Rewatching that, I am very intrigued to learn that there are 22 of these things. Did not see that the first time. Here are some of the comments on this video. I haven't done anything around my house for a week because of these books. No thoughts, head empty, just qui. I'm sure that'll make sense to me in a little bit. I thought it was going to be a funny thing to read. I'm 3 down in 2 days. Like, it's bad, but I liked it. I will say there is a part of me that's wondering if this is just an incredibly stealthy ad campaign. And you know what? If it is, good for them, whoever them may be. Because I have seen enough TikToks that have made me laugh out loud to make the reading experience worth it. So, despite the fact that I do have a lot I need to do, I'm going to read the first book today. On Amazon, it says it's 188 pages. People on BookTok estimate it takes about 3 hours to read, and I'm gonna see what all the fuss is about. I have been informed that the aliens have ribbed tongues. I want to say up front, my intention is to not come at this at a negative way, because whatever is happening on BookTok right now with these books is super funny and weirdly heartwarming to me. I don't know why, it just is. And I'm not here to ruin that party. So we're just looking for fun. We're just looking for fun. And if it's fun, it's fun, it's fun. I'm gonna go read this thing and then I'll come back and give my thoughts. Here's the cover. Could you imagine being on a spaceship though and that is your view? Ignore the people having sex. That'd be so beautiful. I love galaxies. I love stars. Okay, sorry. Anyway, the first line. Up until yesterday, Georgie Carruthers? I don't know. Up until yesterday, Georgie, last name, never believed in aliens. Georgie, you and I do not have that in common, honey. I so believe in aliens. I finished the book. So let's discuss it. Before we get into the meat of the book, I do want to say that there is non-consensual intercourse in this story. There is rape. So just be warned moving forward. It gets discussed. I don't discuss it in depth, but there you go. This is gonna be major spoilers. I'm basically gonna go over the entire plot of the first book. If you don't want those spoilers because you are planning on reading the book, good for you. I've linked the author's website in the description. Go check them out. So it took me about 5 hours to read this book because, as I mentioned before, certain lines or certain scenes can make me uncomfortable or I cringe, and so I have to put the book down and walk away, or rewrite the line in my head and walk away and then come back once I'm ready. So it took me about 5 hours. We are introduced on the first page to Georgie. Georgie considers herself to be a very average girl, except she's from Florida, and I personally think that if you're from Florida, there is nothing average about you. And the story doesn't waste any time. Right off the bat, we are literally introduced to Georgie, and within a paragraph, Georgie has been abducted by aliens. She's asleep and she wakes up and she's in this weird cargo hold. She's on a transport ship with a bunch of other girls, and the girls are broken up into 2 groups. There were 6 main girls who were the original cargo, and then there are 6 girls who are the extras. Georgie is not one of the special girls. She is in the extra group, and they are treated horribly. They are given very few rations to keep them sustained. They all have to share a waste bucket, and if any of them complain or scream or make any noise, the alien guards that are watching over them punish them by raping them. So after, I think, like a few days, maybe a week of being in these awful conditions, Georgie gets it in her head that she's going to lead a little bit of a rebellion. And there's this moment when the ship is in distress, and so she kind of gives the signal and goes after the guard that is watching over them in the moment, but the other girls kind of chicken out. And so then Georgie and the guard get into a huge fight, and the ship starts to crash, and Georgie literally takes his weapon, but because it's an alien weapon and she doesn't know how to use it, she straight up just bludgeons the crap out of him and murders him.
Or kills him in self-defense. I feel like you could definitely argue that. In fact, that's how I'm gonna phrase it. She doesn't murder him, she kills him in self-defense.
All against the backdrop of the spaceship crashing onto an icy, seemingly desolate planet. Now, Georgie goes unconscious during the crash from her injuries, and when she wakes up, the other girls are there to kind of explain to her what has happened. Initially, I was a little put off by this group of girls because they really did feel like their only purpose was to be exposition dumps. But honestly, as the story went on, they kind of became my favorite characters just because of how just like departed from reality. No, that's not the right phrase, because, you know, you're having all this stuff happen to you. It would make sense that you would totally shift your view of reality. They adjust so incredibly well to these absolutely bizarre scenarios, and honestly, I would like to think that that is how humans would interact with humor, with absurdism, and just general levity. Only one of them seems to actually be traumatized by the entire thing, and that's because she's the one who got really, really abused by the guards on the ship. And she's the one, spoiler alert, who ends up dying, which her name was Dominique, by the way, and I personally feel like she was treated horribly in this book. Oh, right, I forgot to mention, one of the extra girls has this implant in her ear that the aliens gave her so that she can understand what they are saying. I think her name is Kayla, I forget. We never understand why she was given this implant. Babblefish Girl is like always giving us the tea for what is going on, and basically the information gets out that the ship was in distress, and so they had to eject their cargo, meaning these girls, onto the planet. There is pressure, there's a sense of time pressure here because they are scared that the alien abductors are going to come back, minus of course the one guard that Georgie bludgeoned to death. Anyway, so they're stuck on this ice planet, which lovingly they name Not Hoth. Georgie heads out into the ice looking for food and water. She comes across some scary monsters that she narrowly avoids, and then she gets stuck in a hunting trap, you know, the ones that kind of like flip you upside down. She even relates it to that scene in Empire Strikes Back where Luke is on Hoth and gets flung upside down and has to kill the Yeti. Spoiler alerts for Star Wars, sorry. But she of course is thinking, well, I don't have Jedi powers, so I'm screwed. And just as the blood in her head is starting to make her pass out, she sees this large hulking figure enter the little area where her trap is, and she kind of comes to terms with the fact that she's about to be eaten, and then she passes out. We get our first POV shift to our male love interest, whose name is Vektal, although I am saying it the way that Georgie says it, which Vektal says is not quite correct because she doesn't know his language, and that there's like a swallowing harumph right before his name. So Vektal or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, he's just your typical bachelor ice planet barbarian. He is out for a hunt to find sustenance for his tribe. He comes across this, what he calls a hairless squiggling thing, caught in one of his traps that he doesn't recognize, obviously, because she's not from his planet. But then his saqui starts to vibrate. Is that what it was called? A saqui? Definitely qui something. He has something inside his chest called a saqui or a qui, and it starts resonating when he sees Georgie all strung up in her trap. He's immediately like, this creature, this thing is mine. She's my mate. And can I just say, like, he literally describes her as a pale pink hairless thing, and of course in my brain all I can think about is that naked mole rat from Kim Possible, and I'm like, I don't care which one of my organs was telling me, yes, this is a viable reproductive mate. I am not listening to that instinct. I'm sorry. Anyway, he's very determined to have her, and so he cuts her down and he takes her back to his Ice Planet Barbarian cave, and he's undressing her because her clothes are gross, and he's trying to get her warm, and in the process of undressing her, he gets a whiff of her scent, and he's so overcome by it that he immediately, while she is unconscious, he goes down on her. Sir. So Georgie wakes up during this and she's very confused, but she also enjoys it because she thinks it's a dream. But then as things progress, she goes to stroke his head and feels that he has horns, and she realizes that this isn't a dream and an alien creature is currently invading her personal space. And then she gets her first good look at him, and we learn that Vektal is totally blue with a lion's mane of black hair. He has spiky horns, fangs, a tail, and a large ribbed nose. And let me tell you, I was very concerned when she described the nose, because the only other two things at this point in the book that had been described as ribbed were his tongue and his... I straight up thought, oh God, what is he going to do with that nose? And personally, one of my favorite lines in the entire story was in this moment when Georgie makes the connection that, oh my gosh, as I was passing out, I thought I was going to get eaten, and now here I am being eaten out. If that's not where your brain would immediately go in that moment, I don't know where it would go. I thought it was funny. So she pushes him off. Not until after she finishes, of course. But then she does push him off, and they have some struggling to communicate, obviously because they speak separate languages. Then we get a few chapters where the perspective switches between Vektal and Georgie. He is desperate to get her back to his tribe because she is human. She does not have a qui inside of her. That is the thing that resonated in him, and she needs to get a qui inside of her or else she will die on this planet, because this planet is apparently toxic, slightly toxic. And of course she is his mate and he is madly in love with her, and so he can't let this happen. Let me tell you, Vektal is one hell of a guy. Literally the only thing that matters to him is Georgie, the naked mole rat. He is so obsessed with her, he'll do anything for her, and overall, for being an Ice Planet barbarian, he is very, very sweet to her. Our main conflict, of course, is that Georgie does not want to go back to wherever Vektal is trying to take her. She wants to go back up the mountain to rescue the girls that are still there. Then at one part of the story, through pantomiming and other ways, Georgie makes it clear to Vektal that if he takes her back up the mountain to her friends, she will have sex with him. He's like,
absolutely, let's go up the mountain 100%.
They do actually end up having sex before they go up to the mountain, just because the attraction is so strong between them, and they have a lot of sex. It's very explicit, and she, you know, climaxes dozens of times, and it's very intense and yada yada yada. The next day, I think, I might be getting it mixed up in my head, there was a lot of back and forth to the crash ship, so I'm sorry if this is out of order, but I'm pretty sure the day after they have sex, Georgie and Vektal finally come across lost the human girls. The girls realize that the reason they feel so weak and listless is because the air is toxic and they are growing sicker and sicker and will eventually die. And so now there are two time crunches. The girls are getting sick and might die, and also the aliens might come back for the special girls. Vektal does not have the supplies to escort all the girls back to his tribe by himself. And so if they try and leave their ship, they will die out in the cold. And of course he makes it very clear that even though he is a stand-up guy and would try and protect them, Georgie is the most important person to him, and so she's the only one he cares about actually getting to safety. They come up with a plan where Vektal will take Georgie back to his tribe as proof of what has been discovered, these humans, and the people of his tribe, the men of his tribe, will all gather up and come and do a full-on rescue mission for the girls. And so they set out to do that, and randomly one night they stop in the Cave of Elders, and Georgie, after they have sex of course, Georgie realizes that it's not a cave after all. It is a spaceship. It's an old spaceship, and this spaceship has a computer that can speak 20,000 languages, and one of those languages is English. And so Georgie's able to communicate, and it is revealed that this spaceship was a pleasure cruise ship, and Vektal's people, the Sakui, or this, I forget, they were a lovely, rich and wealthy people, and there was a whole group of them that were out on a pleasure cruise ship, and the captain suffered congenital heart failure, and then they crashed on this ice planet, and this happened hundreds of years ago. Long story short, it's revealed that Vektal's ancestors were actually a highly advanced civilization, and he and all of his tribe are the descendants of a group of people who had crash landed 300 years previously. All of those people who crash landed were starting to slowly die because the air was kind of toxic, until they realized that there was a parasite on this planet that they could cut their neck and insert the parasite. I would love to know the person who discovered this, by the way, because there were only like 40 of them on that pleasure cruise, and you know one of them was whack in order for them to discover that this was a thing that you could do. Because the only way to get these parasites is to kill a like Tyrannosaurus Rex type monster. So I'm very curious about that, very curious. Now Georgie realizes that if she's going to remain on this planet, she has to get this parasite. Georgie has been made aware that Vektal sees her as his mate, his life partner, whereas she was just sort of like, oh, I thought we were just having a good time. Here's the thing I like about Georgie is that she's honest. She tells him up front. It's not this like inner demon that she struggles with. She's just like, yo, I haven't fully decided I'm staying here. And because he's such a stand-up man, he's like,
It is your choice.
but on the inside, he's like,
That would literally kill me. I could not survive without you.
it's weirdly very romantic. But before they leave, the computer magically uploads Vektal's language into Georgie's brain, and so now they can communicate, which I just have to really applaud that civilization for that level of technology and that level of Deus Ex Machina. So Vektal takes Georgie back to his tribe. Oh yeah, did I not mention Vektal is the chief of these people? Sorry for not mentioning that before. I just felt like this is a romance novel, and that is to be expected, that of course our main protagonist is going to be the chief of his people. It is revealed that in this group of however many people, I think it's only like 50, there are only 4 adult women, because the only way these people mate is when they have their resonance, and it just doesn't happen that often because it's such a small population, and the kafui, that's not the right word, kasui, whatever, the worms in their chests don't always resonate, and so then they can't mate. All the men are very excited that their chief has found his mate, and they are very eager to go and rescue these women in the hopes that they might also find their mates. There's a wholesomeness to it that you're just not expecting. There's one guy who's really rugged, and you can tell he's just in it for the good time in bed, but most of them are like, oh, I'm so excited to potentially find someone to love. So Georgie is now panicking because she's like, I don't care if you resonate with any of these girls. We human girls are going to take a vote and whether or not we want to stay on this planet, and you have to respect that vote. Right, Vektal? And Vektal is like,
Anything for you.
then there's a whole trek back, and there's not a ton of sex in this part, and then they do rescue the girls. There's culture shock from the humans, but lots of jokes and stuff. and a few people do resonate, but it doesn't, it's not fully clear who it is. I'm sure that'll be revealed in future books. And then they've rescued all the girls and they take them out of the ice cave and they're on their way back to the tribe. Oh, and then they have to go on a hunt to get all the girls the parasites for their chests, and the girls have to decide whether or not they want to accept these parasites. Long story short, they do. You know, they take down a T-Rex. I don't know, it's meant to be a really scary climactic moment, but it just, you know, it is what it was. I knew they were gonna do it because there are 21 more books in this series. And then once all the girls are good and parasited, Vektal and Georgie go off into the snow because now she can handle the snow, because not only does the parasite filter the air for you, but it also makes you able to live comfortably in 37-degree Fahrenheit weather, and it makes your eyes super crazy blue and you heal faster. This parasite is literally a miracle. I would love to explore it further. And Georgie agrees to be his mate forever and always, and he's so happy about it that they do it doggy style. And as they're doing it doggy style, they see off in the distance the alien ship, the original alien ship that had kidnapped all these girls, comes and zooms around the mountain, looks for the girls, and then just zips away because they can't find them anymore, and the book ends. That's it. That's the book. It's Ice Planet Barbarians. There are 22 more of them. I'm pretty sure there's one where they celebrate Christmas or something. There's a few short stories where there are babies, and I'm pretty sure it just goes through each of the girls or each of the guys in the tribe and explains their romances. I'm not sure I can really rate this book because, again, I don't read romance very often, so I don't know the tropes. I don't know the expectations of the genre. All I can say was that it was certainly an experience and that I downloaded the second book onto my Kindle.